I might stand to start. Thanks everyone for coming. My name is Jennifer Jett. I'm a vice president here at the FCC. Um, I think we are going to have a great discussion today, so let's launch right into it. Today we have a panel of 3 speakers from the Hong Kong Gay Games, the first gay games to be held in Asia. We have first Joni Evans, who is a football athlete and co-president of the Federation of Gay Games since 2013. She was a top 10 nominee for Outstanding Contribution to LGBT plus Life in the British LGBT Awards and won an administration award from the Football Blacklist. Then we have Emery Fung, who is a TEDx speaker and the football lead and D&I director for Gay Games Hong Kong. He is also the founder of Awkward Conversations, an HK-based diversity, equity, and inclusion consultancy firm inspired by Fung's own transition story, offering tailored DEI strategies for Asia. And then finally, we have David Koh, the Director of Marketing and Communications for Gay Games Hong Kong, who oversees all of the marketing and PR from branding to government relations. So thank you all very much for being here. I know it's an absolutely crazy week for you. And so much work has gone into this event, and it's had to overcome a lot of challenges since Hong Kong first won its bid. So first, I just want to talk about the process of getting here. When did it start? How did Hong Kong come to be the site of this year's games, and how did that process go? And any of you can take this. Multiple people can take it.
I mean, we have like a real stringent bidding process for, like we have a full site selection process, which every city who wants to host the games has to go through this. So there's various steps that really, for us, proves whether or not people are able to manage doing such a huge event. Because it's not like organising a one-day sports day. It's like a full week, and you've got everybody from the whole world coming. So for us to be able to expand and have more cities, not just the usual ones that we know that's around in the Western world, and it's easier for people to get to. Once we knew that Hong Kong was bidding, and they've just been professional throughout the whole thing, and they've given us all what we've wanted, and for the federation to be somewhere else where we can show another culture within our own community has been what we've wanted to do. And for me, it's like we're now expanding out into the world. So like now the only continent that we haven't been to now is Africa. So it's not to say that we can't do that now, because the world knows that we're around. So it is a very long process, and we have to give. It's like once the games end here, Valencia will start their work, and it will take them the same amount of time to get ready, because it's not something that's easy. So it is. They've done a fantastic job here, and I'm totally impressed and very, very proud of you all.
And I understand Hong Kong was, this was the first bid from any city in Asia.
Yes.
For the gay games.
Yes. And the thing is, I think at the time when Hong Kong were awarded the bid, I don't think we really understood that it was like going to be the first in Asia. So as time is going on, it's become this big thing that for us, for me, I sort of feel that we're sort of coming into our own now. Like, whereas people didn't know about the gay games, because of being in Asia, it's improved our brand, because people are questioning, well, why are you here? And it's very evident walking around why we are. So it's not about us being in places where it's easy. It's going to places where we know that the participants are not going to have that opportunity to experience what a gay games is about. And it's a unique experience that I personally would want everybody to have. So from my first gay games in '94, it is that thing about bringing that to other people. And until we were here, I don't think people totally understood what the Gay Games was about. So it's just been an exciting thing. And to be here and the response that we've got from the participants in all of the sports, and we've also been able to have scholarship recipients, people that wouldn't be able to, that haven't even left their country before, to go somewhere else and to be able to be their true authentic self. That is what we do it for. So it's just all what we've wanted for Asia to give us, for us to be able to pass on to the world. We've been able to fulfill that, which has been totally exciting for us. So, yeah.
Anything to add?
I think just living as a LGBT person here in Asia, and I've joined the committee for about 3 years now. So I think all through the organizing process, we had heard from people who had been to previous Gay Games, and they all talk about the atmosphere when they're marching into the stadium and how that changed them. And I never truly understood that until we experienced it ourselves last weekend. And that was the moment when I thought to myself, oh, I finally get it now. I understand why everyone's so passionate about this. And I think I say for all of our volunteers that it was a very emotional moment for a lot of us, notwithstanding the fact that we've actually gone through a lot of adversity the past 6 years to get to where we are. So I think it's just a culmination of everything that's happened and that sense of electricity in the stadium as we were all marching in. That was a very special moment for a lot of us. And that is something that we'll bring with us even after the games are over. And also to Joni's point, the games are necessary. So they are, we bring them to Asia because they are necessary for Asia, not because it's just another, sports and party or whatever, because there are important messages to tell the world from here in Asia, and the important changes that we need to make as well.
We'll be discussing some of those changes in a bit. Emery, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think also from a personal experience as well, I think being part of the games has been something that really completely changed my life in every sense of the word, in a sense where it kind of opened me up to know the community and actually understand kind of what goes on behind the scenes for all the events that goes on, let alone kind of the games like the Gay Games. And I think kind of echoing to what you both said as well is that the importance of actually building this event here in Hong Kong. I think what's quite special, I think, for this edition of the game is that I think we haven't got the exact stats because it's going to be very hard to know, but I think there are also lots of allies being a part of the games for the first time, and I think that's a very, very important conversation to have as well when we talk about inclusion and LGBT in Hong Kong. So I'm very, very personally pleased that everyone came together, personally, professionally, everyone kind of really pulled their weight in Hong Kong, and I think really showcased what Hong Kong is about as well. It was all volunteer run. I'm still very amazed by how that happens. And yeah, so I think it really kind of says a lot about why do we need to have the games and the importance of it.
Can you talk a bit about some of the organizational challenges you faced organizing these games? I think they were originally supposed to be held earlier, and a number of things have gotten in the way of that. What were some of those challenges, and how did you deal with them?
Oh. Where do we start? No, the thing, I don't think we've ever, as an organisation, have had to have so much scrutiny around why the games is important and things like that. So I would never have envisaged that I would be talking to people like Control Risks or, really knowing in-depth things about politics and stuff. So I'm just sporty. Let's just go and play sport. But it's the challenges have been is trying to convince people that we're not here to do anything other than support our community. So in terms of that, it's really difficult because we have a simplistic way of looking at it, and then but everybody then creates other things, issues, and I'm thinking, well, it's not going to be that. I mean, just for an example, it's like when the bid was, everybody was really excited that we're going to come to Hong Kong and Asia, and then like 2 weeks later, the protest starts. And it's like then everybody say we can't go to Hong Kong anymore. It's too dangerous. And my thing is that whatever is going on a political level is happening in Hong Kong way before the gay games was materialized here. And we were not coming to change anything around the government. We weren't here to change anything else. It was really just about the LGBTQI community who we feel would benefit a lot from having an event here to make them feel comfortable and safe and knowing that they're not the only ones in the world. That is our bottom line, but everybody else then says, you're going to want to do this, you're going to want to do that. We don't have any influence over that whatsoever. We're a totally voluntary board. None of us gets paid to do what we do. And we just don't have the time or the energy to start taking on governments and whatever. And we don't have the experience of that either. Our only experience is bringing our event to somewhere where people wouldn't otherwise be able to do it. And for a country like Hong Kong, who people wouldn't necessarily go to, for them to actually have the community there and be able to pull something like this off is totally amazing, because nobody would think that, you know, why are you going to Asia? It's because it's needed. And they have the people here, they have the infrastructure to put this on and bring the world to come and bear witness and whatever else is needed. So that's, you know, that's why we do it. So it's, you know, and I'm totally amazed. I'm really blown away because all what we wanted to happen has happened. I haven't, I've just been smiling and laughing and yeah, but I'm going to see how, I have to stop having late nights now, so.
I was going to add to that, in addition to what happened in 2019, we then also had to deal with the pandemic and all of the lockdown and all the border controls that came with it. And speaking from a marketing and promotional perspective, it was very difficult for us because until we knew when the borders would open, it was a non-starter to have any conversation with anyone in the world about coming to Hong Kong. And we also had a very small window to do that because a lot of these teams from overseas, it's not about giving them 4 months notice to come and get prepared. It's about letting them have clarity 1.5 years, 2 years before, because they need to do selection. They need to do, you know, there's a lot of preparation that needs to happen. And so we didn't really start promoting the games in earnest until February of this year. And we're now November. Because only, as everybody here knows, we only knew that Hong Kong was going to open up in January. And so we were making up for lost time. We went to Sydney Mardi Gras, we had a float, and then we did events in Amsterdam, Bangkok, Tokyo. So we had our booths. We were in a lot of the Pride events all over the world within these very short months. And so the marketing team really, really worked very hard to get all of that out there. Versus a normal gay games, you would probably have 3 years, 4 years to promote, right? And so that just made our lives a lot more harder, but of course it's very rewarding. Add to that the fact that there is no history of gay games in Asia. So everybody that we spoke to were like, what's the gay games, right? And so we had to basically start the conversation from zero every time. But we were hobbled by the fact that before we could even start talking about the gay games, we were in Bangkok and people would be saying, is Hong Kong safe enough to enter? Are your gates, are your borders actually open? Can we actually come in November? And so you had to answer 10 questions about Hong Kong before you could even start the conversation about the gay games. So that just made everything exponentially harder.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, okay, this isn't going to happen?
Many, many moments where we thought this was gonna happen. I think there was a meeting in, I want to say December or January of the committee. I think it was January, and we were all just sitting in the Linklaters meeting room. Everyone was looking at each other, and we were like, is this actually going to happen? And so I'm glad that we went through that. We went through a lot of adversity with opposition from different ends of the political spectrum. So strange bedfellows that were all headwinds for us.
And I think that it's the fact that it was wanted and needed here, because it wasn't up for us as the federation to take the games away from Hong Kong. It was for Hong Kong to tell us whether or not they couldn't do it. So, I mean, towards the end, it was more about the community groups that they actually reached, which they never would have been able to reach. And it was those people that we know we couldn't directly contact. And it's for them. If we took it away, it would be a loss for them. So, you know, it's like we said to them, are you able to do it? They said, yes. I said, well, we're right behind you. So that's how it has been all along. I mean, you probably didn't think we trusted you, but we did. You know, we trusted everything that the team that said they could do, and they said, you know, that they would do it. And all they said they would do, they've done it. So in terms of that, my job here has been less scary as I thought it was going to be. I don't feel any of the things that we were told that we would have to deal with, I haven't had to deal with here. So it's, you know, surprising. I feel so relaxed that I don't know what I should be doing, you know, yeah, wave and whatever. But it's been sort of fantastic, because all what we've wanted to do and all what we've wanted to present and give to the community, it's been given tenfold. So, you know, conversations that I have with people, there's Hong Kongers who don't live here, who live elsewhere, that have come back to be here at the Games, you know, and that to me is really exciting, that the importance of them being part of a community-led thing that gives them prestige for themselves and their sport. And, you know, anybody who wins the medal here, they're a world champion now, and they don't really understand that it gives them that status, and now they will have they have to come to the next games to defend their title and stuff like that. So I don't think anybody can know what the effect that it has on people, and what it does to a community, and what it makes people feel like they belong. And it's also given people the opportunity of if they're not really sure of their sexuality or sure of where they fit in what gender spectrum, it's like they get to see everything here, and they get to know that they're not on their own. And I think that is the most important message that we can give across to the world, you know, and to also let the world know that our community is everywhere. You know, we are everywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think also I want to mention as well, because it's the first time in Asia, we had to, I guess, pivot from a marketing perspective in a lot of ways that would cater to the demographic over here. In terms of the naming itself, I think that was a really, really kind of nice touch from the Games. So in Cantonese, it's Tong Lot Wui. So it basically, very loose translation is kind of happy together, you know. And I think that's kind of really the spirit of the Games. You know, we're here about inclusion first. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's just about a sporting, you know, community and obviously arts and culture as well. As someone who's trans, being in a sports world where it's still very traditional, very binary, it is, I think, Gay Game is the only kind of event or organization that I know of that will actually allow people who are trans or non-binary intersect to be part of the Games without thinking kind of too much barriers to it, and kind of just show up and play. Obviously, there's a lot of training involved, and you want to win, and you know, personal best and all the rest of it. But it's very rare that there's a space for people like us. So I think it was very, very nice that we have that in Hong Kong. And we also brought kind of sports that is very Hong Kong as well. That really showed off our landscape. I think when people talk about Hong Kong, it's always about the skyscrapers and all that kind of stuff. But I think this time around, we also kind of show to the world how nice Hong Kong is. And it may seem that it's only, it takes a long time to kind of get to, but for Hong Kong, it's 20 minutes away and you're in the mountains. We have the trail running, we have dragon boats, we have even mahjong, which turns out to be one of the most popular sports as well. So I think, it really kind of what you keep mentioning is that people was maybe not so sure exactly what it meant, the impact of it, but now it's finally here. I think it really has already changed a lot of hearts and minds.
I know the Games, some of the events are being held in Hong Kong, some are being held in Guadalajara. Can you tell us how many athletes ended up coming to participate in Hong Kong or who are from Hong Kong and participating, and where do they tend to come from?
From what I know, is there's about 42 different countries here. We don't know. I don't have all the numbers. The guys behind me do all of that stuff. But it's the numbers between Hong Kong and Guadalajara are very close. So if we put them all together, for me, it makes a perfect games, because we can't predict in any games, wherever it is, how many people are going to come. We've had games that have been we had the games in Cleveland that was very low attendance, and people said the same thing about what they're saying about Hong Kong now, but that was the first games that I was co-president, and it was the best games. People had the best fun, because it's really about the community, that the participants, the spectators, the supporters, all of those people, it's for them. It's not really, and for me, if people decided they weren't going to go because it wasn't that holiday destination that they wanted to go to, a lot of people were very disappointed that they missed out on a very good event. And I know I'm hearing the fact that people are saying that about Hong Kong, that they're hearing stories about it and then they wish they had come. But I think people always worry about numbers and whether or not we're going to be reaching enough people. We don't have enough bandwidth, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough prestige to dictate who comes to us, because people finance themselves to come to the gay games. They pay their own way, and we can help those that are more disadvantaged because we have funding programs and things like that. So obviously the Cambodian team was here, and we've got, for ourselves, we've got people from Nigeria, Philippines, Kenya, and South Africa. So in terms of that, those people wouldn't necessarily get to come to the games. So yes, at the end of it all, we do a survey and we get all of those bits and pieces put together so that we can then put it out to the world and say this is the success. But the success we have is pertaining to us. It's not pertaining to the world, because they will say, oh, well, it didn't work here and it didn't work there. They should be here and speak to the person who hasn't come out to their family yet but has, or the person who was not so sure about their sexuality and the difference that it made, because that's where the statistics are. And for me, if we change the life of one person, that we've done our job. You know, it's not about having tens of thousands of people here. It's the people that we have here are the ones that we do it for, and that's all I personally, as a co-president, is interested in. You know, so.
Yeah, and just to add to what Joni just said, we also made an estimate of all of the people that we have engaged with over the past 2 years. So I mentioned that beginning in February, we started to do physical on-ground events all around the world. But prior to that, even when Hong Kong was under lockdown, we were doing a lot of local events as well. And so we estimated that over the past 18 months, we probably touched over 70,000 people physically. Like, these are people that come to our events. And of course, when you add up all of the people that we've reached over social media, on the internet, visits to our websites, that runs into the millions. And so we need to remind people not to just focus on the sports participants that are going to Guadalajara and Hong Kong. There's also the spectators and supporters that do travel with them to the two places, but also all of these other people that we've reached as well. And to Joni's point, even just changing the heart and mind of one person makes a huge difference. I've personally been changed just being a volunteer, because prior to volunteering with the Gay Games, I did not know a single transgender person. And now I know so many, and I count many of them, people like Emery, as friends. My mind has been opened and changed, and we're hoping to kind of bring that out to more people as well.
Speaking of hearts and minds, I think everyone here saw the news last week when a few lawmakers, Junius Ho and others, held a news conference saying the gay games could present some kind of national security threat. What was your response to that? And Junius Ho aside, how would you characterize the level of government support you've received?
I was actually asked this question several times last week, and specifically on what Mr. Ho said about the national security law, I think it's irrelevant. I think it's ridiculous. And I think he's doing Hong Kong a disservice on the global stage by making these sort of statements, because it sends the wrong message about Hong Kong, and it creates a lot of misunderstanding about the nature of what we're trying to do here. And what I found very gratifying is, of course, his remarks got a lot of coverage in the press, but when you scroll down to the readers' comments under each article, the feedback is overwhelmingly against him. Everybody that reads those articles, they see us for what we are trying to do, and his remarks are being described as laughable, irrelevant, whatever. And that was very gratifying to us because it meant that people understand more than we think they do. And so that's been terrific. And also, to be fair, we expect opposition. Whenever you're trying to do something like this in a region like Asia, where there are many jurisdictions that could be a bit more conservative, you will encounter opposition. If you're doing this somewhere where there's no opposition, great, then it's a party. Maybe we don't need to change hearts and minds. We're choosing to do the hard thing here. And when you do a hard thing, you will get opposition. And we welcome that because it's an opportunity for dialogue as well.
I mean, the other thing, sorry, I don't know if you want to say, but the other thing is that people say, oh, because there's been protesters, right? So for us, people always protest at gay games, always. You have everybody, you know, you have all the Christians come up, the religious groups come up, they line the route of we've had it like Chicago, we had all the participants waiting outside of the stadium to walk in, and on the other side of the street, there was just like tens of people just there with banners saying God hate gays and all of that. And it happens everywhere we go because people will protest. And because I suppose the church in itself is not that welcoming for our community, it just means it's something that individually, wherever you are in the world, you have to deal with that anyway. So when people are saying there's protests here about the games and it's a religious thing, it's nothing to us because we have that all the time. And we're not here to change their minds. We're here to sort of like bring something to a community. So like we say all the time, it's like that to us, it doesn't affect what we do. It doesn't stop what we do. So it's, yeah, I can't remember where I was going to go then, but yeah.
It galvanizes us.
Yeah, I think the dialogue part of it was very kind of, I guess, the silver lining of the controversy, if you like, because if that didn't happen, my parents would never really speak to me openly about volunteer gay games. They know I volunteer gay games, but we never really, very typical Cantonese for those of you from Hong Kong is that we don't speak about it doesn't exist and things like that. So being part of this, it actually gave us a way in to actually have a conversation about me as a trans person in the family in a very local context. So I think there's always going to be good and bad coming out of whatever it is. There's always going to be a couple of different perspectives. And I think in terms of us being as community as well, I think we are very, very used to people against, or people having a different opinion to what we do, or how we like to live. So I think for us, it's nothing probably too surprising in that sense. And I think it just kind of reinforces the reason why we're doing it.
On the other end of the spectrum, there's been criticism, which you've mentioned already, from pro-democracy activists who say that the gay games shouldn't be held here, that it legitimizes what's been happening. Did you run into difficulties promoting Hong Kong, getting people to come here? Were there people who were concerned about security, about the optics, or just how did you handle those discussions?
One of the major headwinds that we've had to deal with the past 4 years has been geopolitics. I'm sure this is no surprise to a lot of people, especially in the West. There's a certain narrative about Hong Kong that is very prevalent in the mainstream press over there. There's really not much that we can do about that. And in a sense, we just have to focus on what we're trying to do and what we're trying to say. I think often the gay games are it's like a Rorschach test. It's like an ink blot test. People look at it with different perspectives, and they add their own perception or perspective or narrative to it. There's nothing we can do about that. And also, with our focus on diversity, diversity does include a celebration of diverse opinions. And so we would never want to disallow someone from having their opinion. And so we respect that. Even with Mr. Ho, we respected his opinions. Way back 3 years ago when he first started attacking the gay games, we made a conscious decision not to clap back and attack. We put out a statement that was very balanced, and we were talking about our focus on what we're trying to do, but also our understanding of the value of free speech and all of that. And Mr. Ho enjoys the right to free speech as much as any one of us. And we were actually criticized within the LGBT community for being too soft on Mr. Ho. But that, we stuck to our guns because that's what we were all about. We were not about adding to the divisiveness that's going on. I think we've got enough divisiveness in the world right now. Let's focus on uniting people. Let's focus on celebrating diversity because that's what we're here for.
I mean, for us sort of like keeping on the right trajectory all the time and not being deviated either way, and I think that if you tell our community we can't do anything, we say what we can. And I think that it's very prevalent that we've been able to do that. But yeah, it's, for what people say about bringing the gay games to anywhere, it's like they think that there's an ulterior motive to it, and there isn't. There's no ulterior motive. We don't want to benefit for anything. It's not going to benefit us as an organisation. It's like it's still about what we can bring to the community, and it's trying to bring the world together. You know, we as a community, we operate in separate lives, and you know, and it's about us remembering that for those of us who've had it easy, then we have to remember that there's those that don't have it so easy. So it's trying to make sure that we're all on the same playing field, and so we provide that with having the games because it means that everybody's on the same level. They get the same enjoyment and support and everything that they need through that. So I think, yeah, the friendships that are going to be made are going to be for forever, and you know, people, their contacts that are made now, not just in the Hong Kong board and stuff like that, and the experience that people have got from that. They would never have got any of those experiences if somebody else had done it, or it was government-led, or something else. So it's really that. I don't know, it just gives so much. It's a really, really exciting thing to be part of and to be able to bring it here, and it's going to change how things happen around Asia now, I think. So, yeah.
One last question from me, and then I'll open it up to the audience. They're just talking about LGBTQ rights in Hong Kong generally. There have been a number of positive court rulings recently around housing, inheritance, allowing people to change the gender on their Hong Kong ID without surgery, and then the government being directed to create some kind of structure for civil unions. Where do you see LGBTQ rights going in Hong Kong, and what has been encouraging and what is maybe not encouraging enough?
I think the progress comes in little steps. So a lot of these legal decisions, they all accumulate and add to a body of support and a body of rights for LGBTQ people. So we're very encouraged by it. We also understand that there's a long road ahead of us, and a lot of it really does center around changing the hearts and minds of people here in Hong Kong and around Asia, and that's a very long-term job we need to take. But there have been studies in Hong Kong where you can see the support for marriage equality, for example, surging today versus a few years ago. Now, that's not what we're here for, but there is an organization in Hong Kong called Hong Kong Marriage Equality. That's their entire reason for existing, right? And so we watch what they do with admiration, but we are under no illusion. We think it's going to be, in Asia especially, there's going to be a lot of work to do across different jurisdictions. But what we see with regards to the reception of gay games here in Hong Kong just this week has been very encouraging.
Yeah, I think it's quite heartwarming to see kind of the recent wins, I will call them, in the legal system, and that's even before the gay games. It's kind of what happened, kind of not because of the games is here. So I think what we need to do is just kind of still kind of stick to what we're looking to do in terms of the community spirit, because there is so much behind the scenes, that there's so much more complexity of why certain things change from a legal perspective. And our role really is to help people within this community who may not feel safe, and who may not feel open enough to kind of share their feelings and their opinions. Now, I think for someone living in Hong Kong, and someone who's lived in the UK for a long time, I actually feel a lot safer in Hong Kong. I think, of course, there are different degrees of safety. There's psychological safety and there's physical safety. But generally speaking, I think being in Hong Kong is a very safe place to be, regardless of who you are, not just within LGBT. I think we were just talking about, when we were having our lunch, about how you can walk home, quite early hours in the morning, and not feeling, any kind of way you have to kind of look over your shoulder. So I think we need to kind of have that and spread that for the community itself, before we can kind of look too far ahead. I think it really starts from there. It really starts from the impact we have for the individual. I think the way things are going, obviously, is getting a bit more and more positive. And yeah, we're I think just excited to see how it kind of unfolds over the next kind of years to come, next decade.
Because I think the thing is that people think that we as a community want more than what we want. We're quite happy to wait until people make up their minds that we're not got two heads or want to, do something terrible. So I think that even in terms around the marriage equality, we're not here to make the government suddenly change their mind. I think what people forget is there are positive things around same-sex marriages that are already happening here in Hong Kong. They're not dismissing it as something that can't happen. It's just that they don't want to have the responsibility of saying, yes, we allow it. So, but there's other things that I found out since being here, that there's still advantages that somebody who is in a same-sex marriage that can still have advantages like with housing and all sorts of different things, and being able to have their gender changed as well. There's some countries that will have same-sex marriage, but you can't change your gender on your passport. So there's little bits, and I think people bring out stuff and they make it to be bigger. But whatever's not happening here is not happening somewhere else. And that other country don't have certain restrictions on how you can be in the country. They don't have those. They have a bit more freedom, but they have less support. So people forget to look at the positive things that are happening here, and that there are people within the community that does feel safe. Because I was talking about the fact that as a black woman, going out of a big city in the UK, I can feel like I'm being watched. Not because I'm a lesbian, because I'm a black woman, and I've got dreadlocks, and I can feel unsafe. I can walk into a pub where everybody's busy, and the silence will happen. I have felt none of that here. I don't feel like anybody's looking at me any different way. I can walk home at 2 a.m. in the morning with my headphones on and looking at my phone, and I don't feel like I have to keep looking behind me. So for me personally, I felt more safe here than I feel safe at home in London, where I've lived for over 30 years, and in terms of that. So people don't look at those positive things. They're always looking for a negative thing. They're always looking for, we want more than what we deserve. But all we want is just to be treated the same as everybody else. We just want to feel like we are accepted, that we belong. There's nothing different to us, to how we are or how we live. We don't live any differently to anybody else. It's that we just choose who we love, and that's all it is.
We have time for a couple of questions from the audience, if anyone had a question. Oh, we have a microphone for you.
Hi there. This got really close to the microphone. Okay. I just have a question about, obviously the gay games have been going for over 30 years, 40 years. Do you see any kind of link with IOC at any point? Has there been any discussions about that?
Obviously before they wouldn't let us use the word Olympics, and that was the American IOC, so it wasn't the IOC in total. We have been in conversations with the IOC, and there's no issue with us as an organisation. So they don't find any. There's no I don't know, separation between us. You know, we could use the word Olympics now if we wanted to. It wouldn't be an issue, but you know, we've managed all this long just being our own entity as the Gay Games. So in terms of that, there's all of that in that sense is finished. So yeah, and I think the US IOC has actually apologized for what they did to Tom Waddell all of those years ago. So we have a totally different relationship with them, and we've influenced some of the things that they do around the LGBTQ plus community. So in terms of that, I think if you look at the Olympics now, there's a totally different way of how they look at their athletes now. We have at most of the Olympics, there will be a pride house where it would be that all the LGBTQ plus athletes from every country has got a safe space where they can go to. And, you know, the IOC is now, I think for the Commonwealth Games, it was the first time that they had a pride house in the athletes' village, whereas usually it's somewhere outside. And I think the IOC very much look at what happens in the Commonwealth Games as to what they do for the Olympics. And I know for Paris, they will have a Pride House in Paris as well. So that's the progression that we have, is that it is recognized that the athletes that participate in the Olympics and the Paralympics, that they're from all different genders and should be recognized as such. So in terms of that, there's more visibility for us on that higher scale. So, you know, it only enhances what we do anyway. So, yeah.
Hi, thank you very much for the sharing. I guess I just want to double down on how we use and participate in the gay game to come together. And I want to just get your take on how else the Hong Kong community could come behind and rally behind this community. I'm not talking about any change in policy or law. I'm just talking about adding to what you said, like that LGBT community feel belong, like that we are part of the community. How would you compare your experience of organizing it in Hong Kong, be it with the corporate sector, with NGOs, with other part of society, with maybe the last run in France, for example, or throughout your experience? Thank you very much.
I mean, for us, I've never had to go to so many consulates when there's been a Gay Games. I've not had so many corporate people that have been involved to help to support. The allyship that has come out of these games has been beyond any other games that we've ever had. Considering all of the people saying it shouldn't be here, it's the support that has been here is going to be something that we can bring forward to other games. You know, in terms of making sure that the consulates for all of the countries of the people that are coming are going to make sure that they get in touch with their athletes and make their athletes feel welcome away from home. Those are the things that there's so many differences that have happened in here that we can carry on to the next games, and that's what we hope to do, is we take a piece of each games to the next one for us to continually to be diverse. So it's only all good.
Other questions? Yes, here in the front.
So two questions for you. One, you sort of touched on it, but can you just give us an overview as to where you drew your athletes from, globally, regionally, locally? And the second one is about, I guess, broadcast rights, media coverage, sponsorships, all that kind of thing. I noticed you have a fair number of heavyweight sponsors behind you for this one. But where are you on the path to getting, you know, Olympic-style TV coverage and all that stuff? Or is that just not a thing? You're looking for more of a niche channel?
Well, I'm hoping maybe with Valencia, I don't know, but we can always hope, we can always dream. we like you say, we've already received a lot of amazing corporate support and support from the consulates. A lot of that really down to David Chai, who's actually here. He's our director of corporate outreach, force of nature, amazing guy. He does a lot in just getting a lot of those corporates into the fold, and we will continue that momentum. We will continue what we're doing even after the gay games are over, because I am almost certain the gay games will come round to Asia again, right, Joni? We don't know where, we don't know which jurisdiction, but I'm sure at some point in the future that's going to happen. And hopefully when that comes back, we will see a lot of those broadcast and media exposure that you talked about. In terms of corporate support, I think what we're, in addition to a lot of the global and international firms that are giving us support, we're actually, we've received a lot of support from small and medium enterprises here in Hong Kong. A lot of them are in the goodie bag, the swag bag. So everybody knows who they are. What we would love to see more of in the years to come would be support from a lot of the large, locally based enterprises in different sectors, whether it's retail, real estate, and so on. And so our work has just begun, but we will continue to get ourselves in front of those people so that we can continue this mission of trying to change hearts and minds. So half of them are from outside of Hong Kong, and we have over 40 jurisdictions represented. So I think the top jurisdictions or countries where they come from would be Australia, Canada, mainland China as well. We had an amazing moment in the opening ceremony when we had the mainland Chinese delegation walk in, and that was amazing. And we also had a San Francisco delegation as well, and that received a roaring ovation as well when they came in. So a lot of European, North American representation.
And just to add, it's like in terms of the media, it's like we're slowly there's a lot of people in the world who don't even know the gay games exists. So no media company is going to want to put something out if we're not known enough. But I think as each games goes on, a little bit more goes out there. And I know that a lot of stuff has gone out on YouTube for the games, and that's been really great, because for me being here, I can send stuff home. I'll tell people to look for different links. So it's more visible. These games are more visible than any other games that we've had, but mainly because of all the negative press is really positive press for us. And I think that the other thing is that we're now getting, when city teams are putting in their bids now, their tourism boards are now getting involved. And in that sense, that's creating more of a platform for us to do more. So like for Valencia, it's like when they won the bid, it was all on national TV. And, you know, when they went back, they all get welcomed back. So if you've got that side of it, the people who deal with the visitors know what it is to bring people to their country, but they still allow for the community group to do the work that they need to do. That is where it will be generated. So, and it is about companies like YouTube or those coming and saying, we want to support you and be your ally and make sure your voice is being heard all over the world. So we're slowly getting there. It's like you can put gay games in now and you can get various clips and things all over, not just about the games that are happening now, but previous games that have happened before. So it's a slow process. You know, if we had loads of money and I didn't have to work and I could do this full time, it would be a whole different thing. But we're getting there slowly.
Yeah, I think I can just like to add on about the kind of the commercial side of it, or kind of the benefits is it as well. Is that I think true inclusion is not just about LGBT plus community. I think it's about also the allyship involved. So we really have to say a big thank you to all the corporates and every organization that may not be so familiar with LGBT plus community or have any policy in their workspace or just have no idea about this kind of stuff. Have been really supportive. And I think being in a city like Hong Kong, work is a big part of what we do. So I think that's one of the reasons why the entire game kind of came to how it turned out, because everybody is just so passionate about what we do as well and kind of really professional in that sense. But I think also is that I think once all of this kind of happens more and more, people really understand the benefits of actually inclusion as a whole. It's not just about bringing in people, it's about actually benefiting everyone from every angle. So I hope once kind of the games finish and then we've got some more time to digest it, people will start to see more and more benefits. And I think especially from a corporate world, how they can also help their employees as well. I think in Hong Kong, we do live in a very small space physically. So I think it's very important as well. We talked about legal, we talked about kind of culture challenges. I think the private sector or kind of the workplace could also kind of play a part in this discussion as well.
I think we can maybe take one last question and combine it with final remarks.
Oh, yeah, just a follow-up question about the tourism board. I know it's no secret that Hong Kong's struggling with tourist numbers. Did you ever feel any behind-the-scenes pressure of, like, please help us bring the tourists back to Hong Kong once you got that clarity that the games could go ahead?
But the thing is that tourists is not what we're interested in. We're interested in our community coming together and being their best, true, authentic self. The tourism becomes extra. It's what we know will come, the revenue that will come, because it's not just the participants, it's their supporters, it's their family, it's people that they bring with them. So it's only ever seen as an additional thing. It's not for the games, it isn't there to increase tourism. That is not our role. We're not there to improve that. It's not about improving the city, it's about improving the community within the city, and the city benefits from that. But it's whether or not the city want to say, well, we want to encourage you to give us the benefit of that, or they say we don't want nothing to do with it. But we're not here to improve anybody's tourism. But if we get the help, because it's easier if the tourism board is involved, because they know how to get the venues and they can make things easier. They probably can offload some of the, give things of value in kind and all of that sort of thing, and make it easier for the people who are, the community that's running the event, and assisting them to get the experience to put on to put on the event. So they should be there to help, but it's not that there's a two-way thing, like you do this and we'll do that. No, they will have to come in as an ally, and they will get a benefit, but only from what they put in. And they will get a benefit, but we don't ask for anything, and we're not thinking, well, if we get thousands of people to come, then the tourism is going to do this. No, it's really about whatever money is generated through the Gay Games, from the participants come in, it goes back to the community, it doesn't go back to the city. So in that sense, people need to understand that. It's like either the city's on board or they're not. If they are or not, we're not bothered, because it's our event and we run it how we want it.
Any final comments?
I think just an appeal to everyone here and everyone that's on the internet watching this, just continue to give us your support in the years to come after the Gay Games in Hong Kong are over and done with. We will continue to carry on the work and continue to maintain our visibility, continue to engage with the community, with people that both know and don't know much about the LGBTQ community. We will continue to do that work, and we would love for everybody to continue to support us.
All right. Well, thank you all so much again for your time during an incredibly busy week, and congratulations on the amazing success of the Games. And thank you for all of the incredibly hard work you've put into it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you all.